So let's go on to explore the anatomy of the large intestine. We'll see these diagrams before in relation to the small intestine, and once again we can see that we have the greater omentum, which is hanging from the transverse colon, which we can see here, and the greater omentum, this apron-like structure, is hanging from it. Removing the greater omentum reveals again parts of the jejunum and the ileum in this central region, and we can also now pick up the underside of the transverse colon here, and we can also see the ascending colon. So food is going to be travelling up, this indigestible remnants of the ingested food is going to be passing up in this direction, then it will go across, ultimately descending down in this direction. So it's following that inverted U shape. If we move on to the second series of diagrams, which again we've seen before, this time we've mobilized the small intestine, which is possible because of the mesentery. And again, in this diagram here, we can see that we have this ascending colon. We can see the junction of the ileum and the large intestine here, the ileocecal junction. And we can also see that in this region below the ileocecal junction, we also have the cecum and then this blind pouch, the appendix. Again, the ascending colon, transverse colon. Over in this direction, the spleen would be positioned up here. So this is where we have the splenic flexure. And then the splenic flexure is the point where the colon starts to descend, and we have the descending colon running in this direction. We then have a piece of the colon that is mobilized. Like the small intestine, this piece of colon also has a mesentery, and here we can see we have the sigmoid colon. Just here, we have what's known as the sigmoid mesocolon. I'll explore these mesocolons and mesentery in more detail later on, but we can see the sigmoid colon here as a mesentery. It's then continuous with the rectum. Another part of the colon also has a mesentery attached to it, and that is the transverse colon here. And this membranous shelf, which we can see here when the transverse colon is elevated, is the transverse mesocolon. And these are the two parts of the large intestine that have a mesentery attached to them, the transverse colon and the transverse mesocolon, and the sigmoid colon and the sigmoid mesocolon. These give these regions greater mobility. The appendix attached to the cecum also has a small mesentery, the mesoappendix. But like I said, I'll explore these mesenteries in a later lecture.